Mill kicked me and my husband out of her house on Christmas Day. And the middle of tense family gathering on Christmas Day, tensions between Op, their husband, and his sister escalate into a heated argument. Insults are exchanged and Op and her husband are eventually kicked out by Mill. Later Mill wanted to reconcile, but what happened left her on shock. I've posted a couple times on Reddit about my Mill and Sil problems. It's a long story, but to keep it short, my 30F husband's 31M sister 35F has been rude, disrespectful and outright racist to me pretty much right after she met me. We've had one too many uncomfortable moments and she's treated me really bad so many times I lost count. Mill, 66F, knows about all this but she's always insisted on us trying to get along with her and forced her presence into us. Always taking her side and taking a no for an answer when it comes to us setting our boundaries. With that being said, DH and I have been avoiding Sil as much as we can all year but we knew that we wouldn't be able to do so during the holidays, which brings us to Christmas. We went to my in-laws for dinner and, as expected, she was there. She ignored us and we ignored her, as usual, and the day went by smoothly, for the most part. When it started to get late, we decided to open presents, so my Phil started handing them out. We opened a few and my Mill got a present from her daughter that took her a long time to open and then they started talking about it, so my Phil asked me to help him handing out my presents. I got my husband's and gave it to him and said I guess you can just open it, and his mom looked at us in that moment and I said look what I got him. To what her daughter suddenly exploded and said something like why the F can't you just wait? I honestly didn't think it was such a big deal and didn't hear all that she said because I was getting the other present that complimented the first one, but I heard my husband say don't you talk to my wife like that, and then a fight started because she called me a B. It was awful. Everyone was yelling DH to Sil for talking to me like that, she yelling at him and insulting him and calling him a little B for taking my side, and me telling her to don't talk to him like that. I tried to keep my cool, but I failed. Then Mill started saying it was time for all of us to talk and fix things. I didn't want to because I knew there was no way to fix anything, especially not on Christmas and not after some had a lot to drink, because it has happened before and it's always bad. So they said the typical but why don't you want to stay and talk things through? Why don't you want to fix things? All the things my therapist said they would say to try and manipulate us into talking to them so they can belittle and mistreat us, which they totally did. I've been in therapy for a while now, trying to get help and learn how to deal with my in-laws in situations like this, and it has helped when I applied the tools she gave me. But this time I couldn't get out of there on time. I tried to leave. I told my husband I wanted to leave, but that's when his mom started to say that I didn't want to fix things because I was happy with how everything was and I didn't care about their family, and that he probably doesn't either. So he didn't want to leave to prove them wrong and show he wanted things to get better. They didn't. They just got worse. Sil said a lot of awful things to me and about me, blaming me for the bad relationship with her brother, saying that I drove him apart and because of me he didn't speak to her anymore. To which DH replied saying that they were never close and they never got along, that they never had an actual relationship, and that of course after seeing how she treated me he didn't want to be around her anymore. But she kept playing the victim card and blaming me for anything and everything. She accused me of taking advantage of her parents and making them pay for our wedding, which is not true because they offered and insisted on paying, insisting on going all out when we wanted a small wedding. But she said I'm just using them and practically accused me of marrying her brother because of his parents' money. That made me really mad because when I met him I didn't know his parents had money, and also it's not like they are super wealthy or anything. They are just above average. But she acts like they have tons and tons of money and said I should worship them and kiss the grind they walk on. I have to say, I was baffled by this. I'm a hard worker. At some point I had 3 jobs at the same time and I've never needed him to pay anything for me. We have always split everything 50-50. And regarding their parents paying for our wedding, we've been very careful with what we spend and choosing the cheapest option for every aspect of the wedding. Mill joined her for a lot of the things she said, calling me a liar and at some point the devil, telling me maybe I should go to church like them. She just started going to church a few weeks ago, to see if that way I can find some forgiveness in my heart to let the past go and be kind to her daughter because it's not fair on her. She kept saying that whatever her daughter did to me was in the past and I should just forget about it and have a relationship with her, all because DH and I are getting our big wedding in 3 weeks in Mexico and she wants us to include her daughter in every activity and make her feel part of the whole experience. When DH told her that's not something she can ask us to do after everything that has happened, she said her favorite line, that she's family and we have to accept her as she is because she's not going to change. Then she blamed me for making her son think like that and said I was responsible for all that was happening. All the time she yelled those things pointing at me, and at some point she came more than halfway across the table towards me and was so agitated I really thought she was going to hit me. Phil kept trying to calm her down and even called her out a few times because she was crossing every line and also lying about some things. But when he told her that what she was saying wasn't true, she told him to F off and showed him the middle finger. She did this multiple times in front of everyone. At some point Sil left and DH and I started grabbing our things, but his mom wasn't done. She started telling me I had to do what she says and not treat her daughter like that I had to fix things and leave everything in the past, and I was like, after all that just happened, you still really expect me to do that? And she said, that's the least you could do after everything I've done for you. She's my daughter, and I've seen on your face your disdain for her. I've seen it. I was shocked and only said, you've also seen how she treats me, multiple times, to which she replied, I don't care what she does. She's my daughter. You know what? Get the F out of my house. Get out. So I did. I grabbed my things and walked out. I heard my husband say something to her while I was getting my bag, and she kicked him out too and said she didn't want to see either of us. Phil was shocked. I heard him say to her, what have you done? Do you realize what you just did? And tried to make us stay. He followed me all the way to our car, apologizing the whole time, begging me to give them another chance, but I couldn't, and I told him I just wanted to go home. He was crying. He hugged me and apologized again before I got in the car. Then DH and I left. I cried while we drove home, and then some more when we got in the house, and a lot more when I saw my husband cry like a little kid while I hugged him. He fell asleep crying in my arms. It absolutely broke my heart seeing him that way, and I cried for hours after that. The whole experience was traumatizing. I still get all shaky when I remember all that was said and done to us. The next day we got a text from his mom apologizing for what happened the night before and asking us to go to dinner so the four of us can talk things out. DH asked me what did I want to do, and I only said I wasn't ready to talk about that yet. I've never been treated that way before, and he said he wasn't ready either. So he told her we couldn't talk to them yet, and she asked us to please let her know as soon as we can because she feels awful and wants to fix things. As of this point, we haven't seen them yet, but my husband has been getting messages from his dad telling him how bad his mom feels. I got a couple messages too, but decided not to respond because I'm still upset and need to cool off before I say anything. I feel terrible for my husband because it's his family, but I'm also heartbroken because of how they treated me. I don't know what to do. I've never been in a situation like this before, and it's so overwhelming. At one point they made me doubt all that I know and all that I've seen, and made me think I was the problem, and I thought maybe everything would be better if I wasn't here anymore. I'm scared because this has taken a toll on my mental health for a while now, and now it's just worse, and I don't know how to take care of myself while being here for my husband. I just hope we can both get through this. I know I can count on him. I'm just scared that I might not be strong enough. Update. Thank you to everyone who commented on my original post and gave me advice. I truly appreciate it. Some of you asked for an update, so here it is. After all that happened on Christmas Day, DH and I decided to uninvite his sister and set some boundaries with her mom in order for her to attend. We met with his parents to hear them out. His mom apologized profusely. She cried a lot the whole time, saying how sorry and embarrassed she was for her behavior. And we said it would take us time to see where we are regarding our relationship with her because what she did and said was awful. And we couldn't just forgive her and act like nothing happened. I was very clear about this when it was my turn to speak. I told them I couldn't trust them anymore and that I didn't even know if I could ever forgive what they did. So I needed time. I also told them I was only considering the possibility of having them around because they are my husband's parents, but that I didn't want to be around their daughter ever again. I'm not going to risk my mental health or expose myself again to her abuse and disrespect, and there is nothing they can say to change my mind. They said they were sad to hear that, but that they somehow understood where I was coming from. Among the different things we said, we told them about uninviting their daughter. We told her she was not welcome to our wedding since she clearly said she doesn't approve of our relationship and showed in front of everyone she has no respect for either of us. So we didn't want to have her be part of our wedding celebration. Mill cried and said she was hurt and that she didn't expect that to happen. Phil said he understood, but it was hard for them to accept that. But we stood firm and didn't let that change our minds. We left that conversation after laying everything out and getting things out of our chest. It was hard, but it had to be done, and I have to say I did feel bad for Mill. But I'm also hurt because of all the things she said to me before and how she treated me. Our wedding was beautiful. It felt like magic. It was all we ever dreamed and more. And we had an amazing time with our closest family and friends. We were very happy that day and the days surrounding it. When we came back from our trip, things went back to how they were, and not in a good way. My in-laws kept trying to act like nothing happened, inviting us over for dinner/drinks or just to hang out like we used to before. When DH and I declined, they said they didn't understand why and that things were good in Mexico. Why are you acting like this now? Things got worse when one day they invited us to watch a football game and didn't say anything about their daughter going to until the last minute. And when we found that out and said we were not going, they started recriminating DH for breaking the family apart and saying things like, she's your sister. You need to step up. You and your wife need to fix things with her. Even after we told them we were done with all that. Phil even told my husband that his grandparents, that were also going to the game, won't live forever and that at least he should do this for them. DH has told them already we don't want to be around his sister and that the relationship with them is not like it used to be, and that they behaving like this is not helping making things better, but they refuse to accept that. It seems to me that they only said they understood and respected our decision in order for us to have them in our wedding and be in good terms during the family trip, but the moment that was over and we came back they just kept acting like they used to. So, yeah, things are pretty much the same now. DH and I didn't talk to them for about 2 months until his birthday when we went to dinner with his parents and grandparents. It was tense, but I did my best to put things aside for him so he could celebrate his birthday in peace. We haven't seen them or talked to them since, and I don't think we will until the next birthday/important event, I guess. It makes me sad to be in this position, and I feel even worse for my DH, but I know this is what's best for us. And that's what we are focusing on now, just us, and make our relationship stronger. Thank you again for your kind and reassuring words. I definitely needed all that.